Actually, I've been craving green juice here, and so one of the greens that we have available that has done really well in the garden is collards. So many folks. Greetings, this is Body-Culinary, and yeah, we're in the food prep area today for a Living Foods jam session. So I'm just finishing off some green juice. Actually, I've been craving green juice here, and so one of the greens that we have available that has done really well in the garden is collards. So many folks may be more familiar with cooking collards, or even with Living Foods using marinated collards. And so it has a very, the texture of the collard green is very, how can you say, it's very, the first word that comes to mind is kind of leathery or tough. That has a lot of minerals and calcium in it. So it also has a lot of protein inside of collards, but for many people, the collards might not be so palatable, being that the flavor is very intense. So where I am right now, I have access to cucumbers. And the price per pound is maybe about 50 cents. Sometimes I can get a lot less per pound. Get organic when you can. Do note that some farmers can't afford to pay for the sprays, and if you do have something you're unsure of, you can always peel it and still get a lot of the living water. So I have some collards over here left that we had pulled and harvested from the garden, so the leaves can get really, really big. So sometimes we'll have a tendency to pull the collards, and these are all from my garden. Yay! These actually, some of the leaves are like really, really big. And we'll have a tendency to pull them and not eat all of them, right? And we do eat greens every day, but we didn't finish all of them. So I want to make sure that they don't go to waste, because there's a lot of work that goes into harvesting greens yourself. It's like sometimes twice a day you're watering in the heat and weeding and paying for the seeds, transporting dirt, lugging 50 to 100 pound bags and dragging them across of dirt. So when you put all that time into your food, you're not going to want to waste anything, because you've seen these grow from little teeny babies and from seeds. And you also know what's in it, because I'm not using any sprays. So I decided, in order to make it palatable, that I would juice this with cucumbers, right? So that would really take off the edge of the intensity of the collards and balance out the flavor of the collards. Also, cucumbers have a lot of water in them. And then I also added some tomatoes and some local limes. So I find that I like to keep the combination simple. I think we can have a tendency to go overboard, just like people doing supplements and buying like 20, 30 supplements, and everybody's popping a whole lot of pills. And for me, I love simplicity, and my goal is to always aim to get my nutrition from the fresh food. So these are some local limes, which is interesting. I'm always paying attention to the food. The food is communicating with you, and these have a lot of seeds and a lot of fragrance. They may not be as big as the gargantuan-sized limes that I would find in the States. And so I just made some green juice, some for me and some for my sister. So this is a nice amount. This is a good amount, and the lime makes it taste more pleasant. Also, balancing out the flavors in the juice can make it much more enjoyable. It's a good way to get a lot of nutrition in, and I think for me this has more appeal and is more palatable than taking pills that I don't know how they were produced, how long they were sitting inside of a factory or a warehouse, and a lot of that stuff could just come out in your poo-poo in your elimination. So yeah, I had a nice big green juice so far, and the thing is, it's pleasant because I didn't overload it with too many ingredients, and I've balanced out the flavor of the collard green. So I really enjoy my food, so it's not dieting. I have a tendency to eat more fruit and to juice the vegetables, and I don't even juice vegetables all the time. So I really go with the way my body feels, if I'm bloated or if I still have food that hasn't been digested. All of those things we can listen to because it's a natural dance. It's not necessarily mechanical. I can definitely say in the heat, and there were times where I was working at a festival in the States, in Brooklyn, with my son, and I was just loading up. In the summer, when the cucumber price in the States goes down, that's usually going to get better flavor, better prices. So I would be loading up on cucumber juice, and I add my own little herbs and other stuff to it, fresh herbs, and I was using it like lemonade, like cucumber lemonade, unsweetened. And I noticed that my skin felt so hydrated, and as someone that used to have a lot of acne, I prefer not to wear makeup because I like my skin to be able to breathe, and my body is very, very sensitive to what I'm putting into it, even if it's living foods, you know. So I'm much more aware of when I'm eating just out of pure emotion and triggers, and when I need to eat, and so on. And I like for all of my meals to be nutrient dense. So if I'm eating medicine at every meal and it's nutrient dense and it's satiating, then it becomes like a no-brainer. So I just wanted to share like just some simple information. And one of the take-homes here is that we want the food to be pleasant and palatable. And so what I have here is a lot going on here. I've got several things sprouted, which is why you see all the stuff on the counter, because in the heat I want to make sure that I'm rinsing things more often. These are some wheat berries that I'm sprouting so I can grow them into wheatgrass, and they've just started to get little tails on them, if you can see. So, and they don't have any foul smell, so I want to be very, very careful of the smell. So the smells, the colors, if the color changes, all of these things are communications. It's good to drink your juice, ideally right after you've prepared it, so that it's fresh and it doesn't oxidize. Once you've released the juice from the fiber, right, it starts to oxidize, so it's a good idea to get it in. And then in terms of other forms of chlorophyll and things that are naturally cleansing, I have lots of fresh cerasee growing in the yard. So I picked the fresh cerasee. I don't know if I uploaded the video, but if I haven't, I will upload that video because I made a video on fresh cerasee. And I encountered fresh cerasee growing here first when I traveled to a warmer climate. In the States, we're used to getting it in packages. But I was thinking, you know, in terms of being very sensitive as a mother and someone that shares food and prioritize the food that I'm feeding my family, I'm always looking for things that grow naturally in whatever environment I'm in, whether I'm in a colder climate without a full year-round growing season or a warmer climate. Mother Nature is always going to give you something, right? So here the fresh cerasee is like right out inside of my yard. So I'm not growing wheatgrass. I may not have access all the time to wheat berries. The cerasee grows effortlessly. So that's something that I can make and drink and blend it and drink it. And it has so much chlorophyll. And then also it's also very good for cleaning the blood, and it's anti-parasitic. So that's something that you can use to keep costs down, as opposed to just going to a health food store and paying astronomical prices for wheatgrass for somebody to grow it and to juice it. There are some things that you can do just very naturally what's growing around in your yard. If you're in the States in a colder climate, there are several herbs and even some quote-unquote wild weeds like lamb's quarter and purslane, which grows here. I've seen it in the States. And dandelion. Those things that can be low cost because they're considered weeds. Quite often, those plants can have more nutrients than all the wheatgrasses and even some of the organic spinaches and greens because they haven't been super tampered with inside of a laboratory. So a lot of the wild organic harvested greens, if you can grow them and cultivate them, and they grow very easily, you can get a whole lot of nutrition where it's not so much cost, right? So these are some things that I think can be very helpful to those folks that are endeavoring to incorporate a plant-based lifestyle, just where you're consuming foods that are cruelty-free, with there's no inflicting of violence onto your body temple, your brain, your organs, no violence that's necessary to other animals. It is possible to have a balanced diet without having creatures Of course there are ants, and some people talk about plants having feelings. So even if we focused on the least harm possible, it's a choice, and it's not to make other folks wrong. You have to go with what feels good and right to you, and ultimately our body and our health is our responsibility, right? And so we can find a way to make it pleasant and sustainable. So that's it for the share today. Please give the video a thumbs up if you found some value and if you enjoyed the video. Share it with someone that could use some motivation, who has expressed that they want to eat better, know that they need to eat better. Good food, we want it to be accessible and palatable. So it is beneficial. It's going to benefit us to learn how to work with the fresh, whole ingredients, with the real food. When we say whole foods, it's a whole food. I like to say you can recognize it as a whole food, right? That's going to give you a lot of information when you're handling the ingredients. And the learning curve it's not bad at all. It's actually fun to play and experiment. So I'm right here on this channel inviting you into a Living Foods Jam session, because these bodies are living things, right? The body and the stomach is not it's not a graveyard. So do check out. We have some nice shirts that we printed up. Fruits and vegetables bring us together. Your stomach is not a graveyard, and some other fun stuff over on the Body-Culinary Etsy shop. Check out the puppet series, Sister Butterfly and Sister Monkey Learn to Eat Better. That's on the puppet series. So we're doing lots of sharing and bringing you into the garden so that hopefully you are inspired. If you are interested in coaching, whether you're single, you just started managing your own money, you want ideas for how to make this lifestyle sustainable without lots of products. Also, if you're interested in exercising at home efficiently to make good use of your time without going into a gym, you can contact me at info@body-culinary.com for more information and coaching. And I do teach living foods classes and living foods desserts and savory dishes online. And I specialize in families because I'm a mother and I've lived in the travel industry out of a suitcase for many years. So any of your excuses that your brain could come up with, or you're not just your brain, your mind can come up with, I got you covered. So I'm really excited to share. Also going over to the Instagram page where I'm constantly posting things on living foods, fitness, and you can see what I am doing in the garden. All right then, so create a great day on purpose, and I will see you soon. That's local, and the collard greens that my sister and I have grown in our little humble garden, and the turmeric